Farmers of Reddit, what did your animals do that made you go, how the FK did you do that? My horse started army crawling to get out of the paddock. We kept wondering how he got out when the fence was intact, until we caught him do it. Goat stuck in a tree. Goat stuck in the fence. Goat stuck in the doghouse. Goats. Not so much how but why. My granddad had a cow once eat a full bucket of mustard powder mixed with water. My neighbor's llama, who always escaped and would be chilling out with neighbors, he would even know how to cross the street. Because of him, another neighbor, an old man, was saved. Old man passed out and was on the floor. The llama went to another neighbor and led them to the old man. Semi-mummified chicken wedged behind a tree. Notable mainly because my island is basically windswept moorland and you have to go a damn long way to find anything bigger than a daffodil. How it escaped the henhouse and wandered nearly 2 miles without being picked off by an eagle/crow/raven/bongsie we will never know. Can only assume it eventually died of shock at seeing its first ever actual tree. I lived at and worked for a ranch in Utah. I was walking from the tack shed home one night and there was a horse in the pasture with its neck sliced open. Like really bad. What made it weird was this horse was just chilling out and eating. I caught her and my boss came to sew her back up, and she just stands there like nothing is happening. If anything, she was pissed we took her away from the other horses. Just a backyard farmer, but my eyes were opened when I saw my 3 lovely big, fat, friendly chickens catch a rat in their run. They went full velociraptor, tossing it into the air, then ripped it to pieces and played with the bits for a while before eating the evidence. My parents live in a rural area. A small holding farm shares the fence line. My parents have found our cat riding their sheep 4 times. This is an indoor cat. When it escaped, it goes to ride a sheep. 6 sheep chilling eating grass with our cat on the back of one of them. He's not a small cat either, he's a unit. Riding the goddamn sheep. My family has raised quail. When the chicks hatch to feed them, we had jars filled with feed screwed into a base with holes so they can't run around in an open pan of food and poop in it. More than once some chicks would still sit in the holes and eventually burrow their way through the feed and up into the jar until the space collapsed in on itself and the baby chick was just displayed inside the jar atop the feed, trapped inside. Horse had a deep laceration, like, to the bone, on her butt. Walked the entire pasture and fenced twice. Not a single sharp/pointy object anywhere. And that wore a hat. My grandparents were farmers. Grandpa would leave his wide-brimmed straw hat hanging on a hook just outside the barn door. On hot days, his would coax the hat onto its head to shade his eyes and stay cooler in the heat. One morning, dead of winter. Woke up before the sun rose. Looked out the back window, cow looking in at me. Looked out the kitchen window, another cow, living room window, another cow. Looked out the front door. The bull. Our small herd of cattle somehow got out and came to the house to all stare in different windows. Not sure I want to know what they were thinking. In case you're unaware, pigs are incredibly smart and will eat anything they think they can digest. Live or not. A friend of mine had their pigs in one pen and their chickens in an immediately adjacent pen. 3 of their hens managed to jump the fence between the pens and found themselves amidst the pigs. The pigs immediately circled the hens and forced them into a corner. By the time my buddy got over there was nothing left of the hens except for a wing sticking out of one of the pigs' mouths. The cooperation of the pigs to eat 3 hens was impressive and definitely WTF inducing. Not exactly a farmer, but my family raised chickens. One day I walked outside and mockingly cawed at them. In response they all simultaneously made a noise that sounded like the cries of the damned. I have goats. I say that daily. Biggest howther was when they completely disabled a very expensive 4-wheel tractor. Goats like to chew through wires, but the wires on this tractor are covered, so I really didn't think they'd do any damage. Somehow, they crawled, literally, under the tractor, stood up on their back legs to reach up high enough to find the one and only uncovered wire and chew through it. The amount of effort needed to find the wire and get to it was astounding. It wasn't just sitting in the open. They had to maneuver around a lot of other parts to get to it. But they did it. And for a few days, we couldn't figure out why the tractor wouldn't start. That's how long it took us to find that one wire. They were free-ranging at the time, so they literally could go anywhere and eat anything that is appropriate for them. But no, they went for that one wire. They no longer free-range when vehicles are out. Turkeys kill themselves in the dumbest ways. A small tractor in the building overnight. 3 turkeys dead the next day from getting their heads stuck between exhaust pipes and stuff on the underside of the tractor. Had a Jersey cow that somehow managed to get sunk up to her shoulders in some weird mud pit. Luckily I was out to do a fence check on the back pastures when I found her and was able to pull her out with the four-wheeler. WTH. Not a farmer, but I lived next to a farm. In Scotland, roads that go through fields have large spaced-out grading which vehicles and nimble-footed humans can get over, but cattle can't. My neighbor's sheep kept getting out of the field and he was so confused and frustrated. He ended up setting up a camera only to catch some of the sheep tucking their wee feet in and rolling across the grid. My horse somehow got the electric tape fence wrapped around his horseshoe. Every 30 seconds it would shock him and he couldn't break free. Horse in a tree. One of my chickens ended up capturing herself in a roll of fencing. I was walking around looking for my last chicken because they were free range and all but one. I was frantically looking for her and then I found her. Alone silently, standing in a jail of her own stupid making. It was really challenging to get her out too. So dumb. Not a farmer but live in a rural, farm-saturated area. The cows escaped their massive field/pen and somehow made it over a mile away, up many roads and around many turns, to end up in my front yard. I opened the door to go get the mail and lo and behold there's a cow on my front yard. It mooed at me and ate the grass for a good 20 minutes until the farmer came and rounded them up. It was an interesting day. I kept a full-grown Hampshire sow with my breeding pair of potbellies, thinking nothing of it because the sow was huge and the potbelly boar was maybe a third her size. Nothing to worry about. One day I went out and my sow was squirting out 8 of what would eventually be 12 piglets. Did the little dude build himself a ladder or something? WTF. My sister had a jackass and a paint horse at one point. The jackass was super chill while the horse was wild AF. My family tried to tell her the damn thing was crazy because it had blue eyes, but she loved a paint horse. Plot twist, the horse was buck wild, and would harass this poor donkey like a toddler. My grandpa walked out one morning and almost pissed himself laughing because the jackass had gotten a hold of the horse's bridle and was leading it around, and if she started acted up, he'd sit flat on his until she calmed down. Rinse and repeat. Funniest I never got to see. Edit, it was not my intention to contribute to a negative stereotype of some horses. I honestly don't know jack about farm animals. I was the black sheep in a horse-crazy family, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt. This particular horse was hyper, and happened to be blue-eyed, so it fed into my family members' superstitions. My friend used to have roosters and hens. Well, he had this one albino rooster named Snowball, and one day while everyone was gone from the house, Snowball went on a killing spree, killing all 10 other roosters and leaving the hens alive. His white feathers were stained red with blood that day, and according to my friend it was the most tragic and badass thing a 5-year-old could see. Not me but a friend. Naturally, they has a chicken run with 50 hens. Very well fenced in and protected. They also lived on private land of a wealthy man who had cameras everywhere to deter burglars. One of these cameras looked directly at the chicken run. They woke up one day to find all 50 chickens gone, just signs of a struggle, aka blood and feathers splat around the run, so they go back to look at the CCTV. One fox did the full spectrum of damage. It found a way in by digging and spent literally the whole night going back and forth with chickens until he had every last one. This was my great-grandfather, John. He had a Labrador that was totally nuts, and loved him and his family with all his canine heart. Two stories come to mind. One was when my John was out tending to the bull in the fields and Jock was locked indoors. At some point, John turned around to see Jock pad up to him. John investigated the house, and he found all the doors and windows locked. However, he found one of the windows, which was made of 4 different panes of glass, had one of its panes broken. The gap that it left was so small everyone was amazed that the dog had somehow managed to force his way through it. He was never locked inside the house by himself again. The second story is my favorite. John and the family had all gone to the town market and left Jock tied to his kennel. On the journey home they were stuck in a huge traffic jam. As they got closer and closer to home, they discovered that Jock had pulled his kennel into the middle of the road and was sat on its roof. Jock was apparently very excited when he saw his family pull up. The family were initially mortified, but later found the humor in it. My friends had a small herd of cattle out west, that they raised for their own homegrown beef. On day they left a tracked bulldozer out in the pasture, and a calf managed to get its tail stuck in a slot between the side blade wing and the main blade of the plow. It was high enough up that its hind legs were off the ground, and the forelegs were just propping up the front of it. No idea how it got there. Before they could situate themselves to free it, it got free on its own, by ripping its own tail off. I worked as a farmhand for a bit. Chickens defy the laws of physics. I was feeding the lavender Orpingtons when I noticed one of them above me. When I went to grab it to put it back in the coop, it ran upside down on a support beam and flailed to the ground before escaping through the front door to the barn. To this day I'm dumbfounded as to how it managed that, and my co-worker with me at the time saw it happen too. I had a horse that could untie knots in rope. When I fed him, he untied my shoes. He untied the rope to escape. He liked the grass in the neighbor's front yard all the time, so we put a lock on the gate. Visited a farm once and the people had a sheep on the second floor of their house. All doors and windows were shut and locked. My dad had a construction company that had a storage lot behind his office. They stowed materials, vehicles, and other large tools. This lot had problems with grass and weeds getting out of hand, because you couldn't get a mower back there. Someone told my dad to get a couple of sheep to mow, so he did, and they kept escaping over the high chain link fence. Many mornings of my dad chasing sheep down Main Street early in the morning. Dad was advised to tie them together with a length of rope so they wouldn't attempt it again. Well, I grew up on a farm and have a lot of crazy stories. One of my favorites is when the pigs discovered how to turn on the faucet outside their fence and ended up flooding half the pen. Not my own experience, but a really good story from a family friend. I know an older guy that grew up in Montana. He had a horse as a kid and it wasn't uncommon for him to ride mountain trails alone and not return for hours at a time as a kid. Once when he was around 12 to 13 he rode on a trail and fell off his horse and down the side of a steep, rocky side of a mountain. He says he must have fallen 40 to 50 and hit his head, causing him to black out. He woke up to his horse standing at his feet trying to help him back up onto its back. The horse helped him back onto his back, laying on his belly in the saddle perpendicular to the horse, and the horse walked him home where he was treated for his wounds. He was amazed that the horse was, 1. able to get down the rocky drop, 2. the horse knew he was hurt and knew his rider wouldn't give riding cues for movement, and 3. that the horse knew his way home. After that incident the man treated the horse like a king. The horse ended up living to the old age of 39 because of all the care the man gave him. He felt as if he owed his life to the horse, and he did. When there was nothing else he could do to help the horse and he knew it was the horse's time to go, he lost a friend. Had a horse magically be on the roof of a damn barn with no idea how to get her down nor how she got up there in the first place. Whole crew made UFO jokes for months after that one. Had to get her down with a crane. In the end it was decided she had somehow climbed the steps to the loft then just scrambled out the window at the top, though we never were completely sure that was how she got up there. It just seemed like the most logical explanation. Not a farmer bid helped get a young bull off a roof. Well, I am a son of a farmer, but I like to help, so one day we came in the barn and there was a cow just hanging on a fence precisely in the middle of her stomach, so she couldn't get up, and she was really heavy, so when we finally got her off we saw that there was a huge bend in the fence, and some weeks before that we had the same with a bull who also was really heavy, and we had to use the tractor to get him off the fence, and we mounted a metal pipe on the front, but he just bended it, but we were able to get him back off the fence. But an hour or so he was back on it again, so when he was finally off my dad mounted another fence on it. My brother's pony kept rolling under an electric fence. Our horses got so good at escaping the barn so they could graze in the yard at night that eventually we just let them. My 7-year-old canary goldfish Munli, lemon means lemon in my home language, jumped out of the tank in the middle of last year. This was during the night, so I only found him at 7 a.m. literally lifeless, all the water around him evaporated and his scales were dry. He wasn't breathing. Panicking, I put him back into the tank with the rest of his buddies. He just kind of sunk to the bottom, and stayed there for a few minutes. Yet, afterwards, right before my eyes, he started moving again. He had a white gel over his scales for 2 days after that, but has since recovered fully. We then had a custom lid made for the aquarium and he hasn't managed to do that since. Pig farmer here. We have 4 feet tall barrels full of water with spigots on the bottom for pigs to drink from. I came to fill the water and found a baby pig swimming in there. Not so much a how on earth as much as a wait what. We used to have a potbelly pig. I saved a baby goose from our cats and raised it. Around this time we also had a bottle calf, a calf rejected by its mother, so you have to bottle feed it. The goose got too big for the house, so we put it in with the pig. The goose would just follow the pig around everywhere and sometimes imitate the pig. Then we had to move the calf into the pen as well because we were running out of space for it in the other pens. So the calf and the goose would follow the pig around 24/7, and the pig just embodied the grumpy old man who begrudgingly likes kids stereotype. It was amazing. The calf began to treat the pig like its mother and would suck on its ears, mistaking them for tits. And when the calf would get fed with the bottle, the goose would stand underneath to catch some milk too. They were the best trio ever. I had guinea fowl. They compete with turkeys as dumbest bird. I had 4 that flew up on the roof of my garage. One ran around the other side of the garage peak. The others followed. Except, they could never quite see each other because of the peak. Them running frantically in circles, desperately trying to find each other. They could hear each other, just not find each other. They just kept running in circles around the roof peak until one got tired and broke the cycle. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content every day.